Your daily dose of sports talk is here. Highlights, interviews, and analysis. From the entertainment capital of the world, SportsWrap with Jason Page starts now.
And it's great to be with you on this Monday edition of the show. So much to talk about over the next 60 minutes. Bill Bender joins us every Monday from the Sporting News. We'll get some thoughts with him on the NFL and college football. Sam Yarnell will be here as well. Lots of football on the show today, pretty much wall to wall on the NFL and some college football. It's that time of the year where the NFL and college football dominate the conversation. We will get into the AFC and NFC wildcard weekend action. As I said, national championship for college football a week from now. We'll get into the two teams that'll meet up for that, with Miami and Indiana getting together next Monday night in Miami in what is essentially a home national championship game for the Canes. Also in odds and ends, we will slip in a little bit of NBA because Anthony Edwards did something that I don't think anybody's really been able to do this year, and that was make Victor Wembanyama look less like an alien and more like a human. We'll get into that as well. But we start things as we always do on this Monday edition of the show. It's time for the big story. And the big story starts things out with some NFL conversation. And let's talk about the wild card weekend that was. It was terrific. I mean, you can't do better than the NFL did this weekend. It is the unscripted drama that all of us enjoy, and this time of the year. And sometimes you get great games, and sometimes you get duds. And this wild card weekend, with the exception of the Patriots and Chargers, which we'll talk about later on in the show, with the exception of that game, it has been all bangers heading into the Monday night matchup between the Texans and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Beginning with what we saw in Charlotte between the Rams and the Carolina Panthers, with the Rams winning that game 34-31 in dramatic fashion. Colby Parkinson getting the game-winning touchdown catch from Matthew Stafford in that game. And look, I mean, the story there is the Rams continue to win despite really playing to a 100% of their capabilities as far as I'm concerned. And they only need a few more wins to win a Super Bowl. And at some point, you got to think they're going to play to the level that we're all expecting. Or maybe they won't. Maybe they don't need to. Maybe this version of them is enough. We'll have to wait and see. And then there was Buffalo. And listen, if you can't root for somebody like Josh Allen and the city of Buffalo to win a Super Bowl, if you don't have a horse in the race, a dog in the fight, if you don't have one, man, Josh Allen and the Bills is one you don't mind adopting, is it? Because that city has been starved. We know about the 3 straight Super Bowl losses, the heartaches that Buffalo Bills fans have had to endure. If this version of the Bills, who I know has been banged up with injuries this year, but with no Lamar Jackson, no Joe Burrow to block them, no Patrick Mahomes, if this is the year they can't at least come out of the AFC, then you have to wonder if they ever will. And that performance from Josh Allen yesterday, it really was Superman-like. I mean, he was getting his ass kicked the entire game. Concussion protocol, they checked him out for that at one point. You saw him twist his knee. He's hitting his hand on a helmet. I mean, he went through the ringer in that game and came through the other end. What a win for the Buffalo Bills. On the road in Jacksonville against a Jaguars team, you know, that might have been their moment that they watched slip away yesterday. And then obviously Chicago and Green Bay. And don't worry, we're going to get to the Niners and Eagles a little later on in the show. But you got to talk about, you know, what happened with Chicago and Green Bay. You know, the Bears, who have now beaten the Packers 3 times this year, and basically haven't led, or beat them twice this year in the 3 matchups, and haven't led at all in any of these games. It is remarkable what Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson and this team have been able to accomplish. And Caleb Williams, who just continues to make big throw after big throw. A guy that, after last year, a lot of people were ready to give up on after year 1 with Matt Eberflus as his head coach. You know, a lot of people did that with Bryce Young, too. Were ready to give up on him after his first couple of years in the league. And now you're talking about a situation where Bryce Young is starting to flourish under Dave Canales in Carolina. But a lot of people are talking about this whole handshake thing, handshake gate, because we just attach a gate to anything and make it a controversy. And what Ben Johnson did or didn't do after this game. And I just want to spend a couple of minutes on this, because I'm not going to go crazy about it throughout this entire show. I don't have any problem with what Ben Johnson did yesterday. I'm talking about a guy that coached against Matt LaFleur as the offensive coordinator in Detroit with the Lions, now having to face him twice a year, and in this case, 3 times a year as the head coach of the Bears, who made it a mission to take down the Packers, and it was something that meant a lot to him. And obviously the two guys don't like each other all that much, and that's okay. A healthy hatred, I know a lot of people say there's no such thing. A healthy hatred isn't necessarily a terrible thing. And he did shake his hand running off the field. He wanted to go be with his teammates. He wasn't going to linger there and have a makeout session with Matt LaFleur. Is that what he has to do? I mean, people are acting like he spit on Matt LaFleur's hand instead of shaking it. He shook it real quick and he ran away. I'd rather that than Carlos Alcaraz and Yannick Sinner, who are the two biggest rivals in tennis right now. They're going to be the rivals for the next decade in tennis. I'd rather what I got from Ben Johnson yesterday with Matt LaFleur than what I see with Yannick Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz getting on private jets and flying around to events together. I'd rather see, give me Ben Johnson and Matt LaFleur and that healthy hatred for each other than Carlos Alcaraz and Yannick Sinner, who are trying to beat each other to death on a tennis court, but then flying around in jets together. I'd rather that. Could you imagine John McEnroe, by the way, flying around with Bjorn Borg or Jimmy Connors during the height of those years? Never would happen. Of course not. Now, the stuff in the locker room with what Ben Johnson said, I think that's another topic, and that's cameras being in there in moments when they shouldn't be, and guys playing to the cameras. As far as the handshake was concerned, I don't have any problem with it at all. This is football, man. These are rivals, bitter rivals. Not supposed to be sitting there making out with each other. I want them to not like each other. It's better for the rivalry, better for us. We're coming back with more NFL next. All right, let's keep things moving on this Monday edition of the show. You've heard what I had to say in the big story. Let's bring in first of our 2 panelists hanging out on the show today. He's more than a panelist. He's Sam Yarnell. Hangs out with us on the program. Give us some thoughts on the wild card weekend festivities. Whew. Man, that was straight up fire. Other than that Patriots game, which was hot garbage. Let's talk about it, Sam, and start in the NFC. First of all, with the Rams escaping, against the Panthers. And look, we told you to take Carolina with the points, by the way. Hope you tailed us on that. And this has sort of been, the point I made in the big story today, for those that didn't see it, is that oftentimes in sports, regular postseasons mirror regular seasons. The Thunder running roughshod and winning an NBA title last year was a mirror and a reflection on the regular season. The Dodgers winning the World Series last year, that's supposed to happen based on what we saw during the regular season. The Florida Panthers winning back-to-back Stanley Cups, that's not an accident, and particularly difficult to do. The NFL's wild card round was basically a reflection of what we saw throughout this entire regular season, Sam.
Interesting. So yeah, I mean, well, with regard to the Panthers game, the Rams game specifically, yeah, you come out of this game confused as to why, people were so sold down the river on the Rams all season, why they continue to be, quite frankly. Listen, the Rams got exposed again, as to, weirdly enough, the Carolina Panthers continue to do in this NFL season. Yeah, it's wacky, I know. Listen, I'm not going to say Bryce Young didn't look good. He looked good in this game, and there is something there. The Carolina Panthers are coming. And I mean, this clearly wasn't the year. Obviously, I don't think anyone thought they were going to be like serious contenders this year. They're ahead of schedule. And I think for a team like the Carolina Panthers, it's really rare for them to be ahead of schedule. It's the first time in a decade they've been ahead of schedule. So, all signs coming out of this game, weirdly enough, be it a loss for the Panthers, stock up on Carolina and stock through the basement on the LA Rams. I mean, this is a team that shows you they're going to struggle when they go on the road. They're going to struggle when they go outdoors. I don't know what else the Carolina Panthers are on no planet, on no universe in this galaxy on the same level talent-wise as the Los Angeles Rams, on the same level coaching-wise as the Los Angeles Rams, on the same level management-wise as the Los Angeles Rams, and yet they were in this game until the very end of the fourth quarter. Yeah, not great look for LA over the weekend in Carolina.
But let me give you the counter to that. And maybe this is a little devil's advocate on my part. They're not even playing their best football, and they're still through to the next round. What happens if they do play a 60-minute game? Even just play a 45-minute game, which it feels like we haven't seen them play in a while. What happens when they do? And they only have to win a few more games, Sam. And in this postseason, in this sort of, goulash of teams that we've been talking about all year, unless you believe that Seattle is heads above everybody else, which they might be, and we may really get the sense of that next week with what they do to the Niners. Unless you believe that, then I still can't take my chip off that part of the roulette table that points to the Rams. I can't do it.
I don't know if they're not playing their best foot. This is the best the Rams have looked all season. Puka Nacua is going for 100 yards a game. Matthew Stafford's throwing for 300 yards a game and not throwing interceptions again, right? Like, they're rushing for 116 yards a game, 4 yards a carry as a team, right? Like, the numbers are all there. They're playing the best football we've seen this team play all year. The problem is just that it's not as good football as everyone had convinced themselves that it was all year. And now I think the retraction to that is, well, they're not playing as good football. They're actually playing the same football they've been playing all year. They're just not executing at as high of a level as we had all conjured up in our minds to make them the NFC favorites.
All right.
It just feels like they got exposed.
All right, let me give you some time to sort of wax poetic about the demise of the Eagles at the hands of the Niners and that remarkable win from San Francisco, despite the fact that they lose George Kittle in the second quarter of this game and just continue to have this next man up mentality that they've carried through this entire season. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, because I think lost in the entire shuffle of all of this is the fact that they played the majority of this game without arguably their second best offensive player. Sure. I would never take that away from Christian McCaffrey. I'm not going to sit here and say anything about the Eagles that hasn't already been said. I mean, you heard everything and then some from the Philadelphia fan base last night. But Kevin Patullo is almost as good as gone already. I'd be surprised if Nick Sirianni came back. A.J. Brown probably also gone. It seems like there's a ton of talk about Jalen Hurts and how he's not the guy. I know he had a bad game. Quarterbacks in the NFL have bad games. The team around him certainly did absolutely nothing around him to pick him up in this game.
I agree.
And I'll tell you this, just from a numbers standpoint and from a business standpoint, it's a hell of a lot easier for the Eagles to move on from Kevin Patullo, A.J. Brown, and Nick Sirianni in that order than it is for them to move on from Jalen Hurts. So Philly fans, if you want Jalen Hurts going, I'm sorry. First of all, learn ball. Second of all, he's not leaving. I mean, I still have confidence in this Niners team. You and I this has been a controversial point on the show all season. I will have confidence in this 49ers team as long as they keep doing what they did yesterday, Jason. Like you mentioned, man, somebody goes down, they pick it right back up like nothing's missing. It's incredible.
Well, I saw that final regular season game against Seattle, and that makes it very difficult for me to take the Niners, because that was essentially like a playoff. That was like a playoff game, and they got their doors blown off in that game. You never felt like they were in that game, so it's hard for me. I'm rooting for them. I have a lot of rooting interests, and it's great because I don't have a dog in the fight, so to speak, because my team is at home watching, and frankly has been home watching for a couple of months. But I'm looking forward to watching the way the rest of this postseason plays out with the teams that remain here. I don't think they're going to get rid of Sirianni, though. I don't. I think they should, but I don't think they will. And it is a dysfunctional situation that also calls to mind. It calls to mind one other thing. We all like to bang on the fact that it's the end of the run for the Kansas City Chiefs. If you can't appreciate what the Chiefs have done over the last half a decade plus in winning as much as they did, winning the Super Bowls that they did, the back-to-back championships, almost winning a third, watching the Eagles die a slow death yesterday and die a slow death throughout this entire season, should make you appreciate what the Chiefs have been able to accomplish over the last half decade. We'll get to the AFC next. All right, we talked about the NFC side of the wild card weekend action. Let's talk about the AFC side. Now with Sam Yarnell chomping at the bit, the way Bill Bender will be when we talk about the Packers coming up in 10 minutes from the Sporting News. All right, Sam. Bills win. Look, let me get it out. Let me introduce the segment. Look at you.
It's before the Bills game. I actually, real quick, Jason, wanted to go back to something I totally forgot to mention with regard to the Eagles. There is an interesting nugget here, and it ties into the Bills, so we can parlay it into that in just a second.
All right.
There's an interesting nugget here with relation to league rules that I'm going to be very closely looking at over the course of the next, couple weeks, couple months leading into the draft, with regard to how the league handles the Philadelphia front office. Yesterday on the sideline, there was video of Darius Slay, former Philadelphia Eagle, on the sideline during the game for the Philadelphia Eagles, on the Eagles sideline. Darius Slay, if you'll remember, was claimed off of waivers by the Buffalo Bills, at which point he never reported to the Bills facility and was therein placed on the did not report list. He is currently under contract with the Buffalo Bills, and during the game yesterday was on the sideline for the Philadelphia Eagles. That doesn't fly under league tampering rules. I'm not going to say that I'm absolutely positive the league is going to bring down the hammer. I will just say this. I would not be out of this world surprised or shocked if the Eagles lost a 6th or 7th round draft pick this year for it.
I wonder if he cleared it with the Bills. He
definitely did not. The Bills are very mad at him.
Oh, okay. So there you go.
There was a whole falling out.
I didn't know about it. Okay. Talk about Buffalo winning this game, the fashion in which they did. Josh Allen doing his usual, just tear open the shirt and it's a Superman logo sitting on his chest. Carrying this team to victory on a day where it felt like Jacksonville down the stretch was going to make enough plays to get through to the divisional round. Talk about and wax poetic here if you want about Josh Allen, because he certainly has earned it after what he did.
Yeah, I mean, a superhero-like performance from the biggest superhero that the NFL's seen, maybe in its history, like Warren Moon level stuff. On a real note, though, as much credit, and I was thinking about this when we were talking about the Niners, as much credit as we give the Niners for next man up kind of mentality, outside of Josh Allen for the Bills, which I know you could consider the quarterback with the Niners. Mac Jones looked great this year.
Yeah.
Outside of the quarterback for the Bills, they have had about, it seems like, twice the level of injury step up that the Niners have had, and it's gone completely unnoticed. And that's fine because they haven't had as good of a unit as the Niners have had. But I'll say this, you saw it in the game yesterday, right? First quarter, second quarter, Jordan Poyer goes down. They're relying on Jordan Hancock. I think he was an undrafted free agent who they signed to be their practice squad safety for the majority of that game, and he gets the job done, right? It's impressive stuff out of the coaching for the Buffalo Bills, and all the noise that was created coming into this game. Oh, is McDermott going to get fired if he loses? And, oh, what's going to happen to the coach? Yeah, well, he proved to you what's going to happen if at the end of this game. And it's that they're not going to lose. It's that the Sean McDermott, Bobby Babich defense is going to come out and it's going to make plays when it needs to. And the other side of that, Jason, is, the 2 interceptions in this game obviously cost the Jags. We talked about it during the game over text, right? Tons of interception-worthy throws. I think the Bills dropped another 2 or 3 interceptions in addition to the 2 that they made. It was just a bad performance out of Trevor Lawrence in the playoffs. Again yesterday, he's not doing anything to disprove his doubters when it comes to his playoff performance.
Yeah, and we talked about this. You and I were texting about it yesterday, almost in real time as we were watching the game. Which is always interesting because I don't know if I'm like 30 seconds ahead of you if you're watching the game on YouTube TV. So I'm like, am I spoiling it for him? I don't know. So I'm sitting there watching it yesterday, and he has those moments where you go, wow, he can make the throws, he can make the plays he has to make. And he made a lot of them in the second half. He did throw the 2 interceptions, obviously, in this game, which were somewhat costly, but as I pointed out to you, and I'll point this out when we talk with Bill later, is this idea of, those moments. And you're still waiting for those moments with him. And now you're 6 and 7 years into a guy's career, and you're left asking yourself, are those moments ever coming? I know they're looking at this as a building block. And I know some people will say, there is upside to the loss for Carolina yesterday. And there are people trying to tell you there's upside to the Jags loss yesterday against the Bills. I don't know if you can look at it that way in this year-to-year league. I don't know in the case of the Jags if you can look at it that way, Sam.
Yeah, upside to the Jags is on a loss is a very bold statement. The Panthers, I get. They were 10.5-point underdogs. They lose the game by a field goal, and they had a chance to win.
Yep.
If you're talking about the Eagles' loss or the Chargers' loss or the Jaguars' loss being constructive, I mean, look to your right. There may be a bus coming to hit you.
Let's talk about the Patriots mauling the Chargers, because it's another disappointment for Charger fans. Justin Herbert's on his ass the entire game. He gets sacked 6 times. He gets pressured like they brought the heat like 23 times. We talk about Joe Burrow, and I know you're not as much of a Herbert guy as I am, but we talk about Joe Burrow and the Bengals wasting his prime and his disappointment. How do you got to feel if you're Justin Herbert? Another year of going to the playoffs, another year of disappointment. You got Jim Harbaugh after the game who can't even tell you why they stunk so bad in this game, saying, well, if I knew, I would have fixed it. Your job is to know that so you don't look like that and lose 16-3. I don't even know where you go as a Chargers fan right now, Sam.
Yeah. This is it's not good in Los Angeles. And I know that there are people who are very quick to tell you that they've got $110 million in cap space coming next year. And I know Tyler Lindenbaum's probably going to end up on that offensive line. Great. You can't build an elite offensive line with $110 million cap space. I'm sorry, it's just not how it works in the NFL. You need a lot more than that. You need to start drafting offensive line talent. And that's 2 things that the Chargers have not done very well in terms of guys that can stay healthy, right? Listen, I know that they had a ton of bad luck very early on in the season in terms of injuries to this offensive line. Rashawn Slater, Joe Alt, the 2 best players on this offensive line going down before week 2 really, really hurt. But you got to be able to adapt. You have to be able to do something, do anything, and they just couldn't. We're going to have to start asking questions about the other Harbaugh now. I know John's out in Baltimore. You got to start asking questions about Jim in LA. It's as simple as that. It's become insanity in Los Angeles. It's the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, and they're never going to get it, Jason.
Yeah, and I do think next year is going to be a make or break year for Harbaugh. I think next year is going to be, because we've seen that ownership group has no problems cutting people loose, whether it's Jim Harbaugh or anybody else. All right, we're coming back with Bill Bender. We'll talk some NFL and college with him next. Welcome back to the show. Let's get into some more football. Almost wall-to-wall football today. We'll get in a little NBA in the final segment and odds and ends. Let's bring in our friend Bill Bender. Sporting News does a terrific job on all things football. You might notice something different. Normally we'd say college football with Bill Bender. No. We've got the NFL Wild Card Weekend graphic up because we're going to look at him. He's chomping. He's like leaning into it. He's ready to go. He is Packer fan number one on this show. So the news of Matt LaFleur reportedly staying put with the Packers makes Bill blank. Fill it in.
Ambivalent, because it means we'll get more of the same probably in 2026, unless they clean up the coaching staff a little bit, make some changes, because there's no excuse. We can make the excuse that Green Bay didn't make the Super Bowl based on injuries to Micah Parsons, Tucker Kraft, Zach Tom, etc. We can't make excuses for the second half against the Bears on Saturday night and being up 21-3 and failing to manage the clock. And, the Bears, Green Bay had a first down and 10 up 3 with about 3 minutes left. And the Bears took the lead with 1:43 left. That's the exclamation point in the horrible clock management. I guess we could go, I made the case for John Harbaugh, but that's about the same. But other than I would take John Harbaugh over Matt LaFleur today. We'll see how I feel about that in week one.
Bill, but on the LaFleur side of things, because, let's call it what it is, right? This isn't a Green Bay Packers team that's got a window that's going to be open for the next decade plus, right? The window, it's not closing, but it's not opening by any stretch of the imagination. Is LaFleur a guy in your mind, as a Packers fan, who you could see one day hoisting a Lombardi trophy, or is it kind of all thoughts are off and nothing really matters as long as LaFleur's the head coach?
I think that the window, to me, as a fan and as pretty much as a writer, it was Micah Parsons' contract. That's the window. They should reach an NFC championship game at minimum. That's what I expected this year. NFC championship game, not Super Bowl. When he went down, that reality kind of faded with that. But over the next 3 years, the bar should be at least one NFC championship appearance, and you've got to get to a Super Bowl at some point. The loss to the Bears takes away a lot of psychological things. Over the Bears, over the rest of the division. The other 3 teams in the division have won the division the last 3 years. The Bears got a huge psychological win, and quite frankly, Matt LaFleur bailed out Ben Johnson for all those ridiculous fourth down calls in the first half.
I made I talked about it in the big story, this handshake thing. I got to get your thought on it.
It's Ben Johnson's absurd. It's ridiculous. Grow up. And that's partially me being a fan, but
I think it is partially you being a fan. It's what, do you want him to make out with him? He shook his hand.
Well, the handshake less, but the stuff in the locker room afterward. If you want to say blank the Packers and blank, that's fine. If you want to do that, why do you have to do it on camera?
I don't even know why they have cameras in the locker rooms in those moments.
Why do you have to do that on camera?
That's another topic. That's another topic.
That shows me that he is immature as a coach. If you're gonna do that with the cameras on, you can do it privately, sure, but that's great. The Bears won. It was a huge win. Very impressed with Caleb Williams. I think Ben Johnson's antics after the game, in the press conference afterward, in the locker room, and with the handshake, I think those are categorically immature, and I'm not going to step off that.
I want to build off of that for a second, Bill, because I think there's a broader question around the sport of football that we can ask, right? But look at the playoffs this year, for instance, right? Sean Payton is the number 1 overall seed. Mike McDonald, young coach, number 1 overall seed. Andy Reid, John Harbaugh, not in the playoffs. Mike Tomlin, last seed in the playoffs. Is there something to be said about respectful head coaches, these guys who will shake your hand at the end of the game, being kind of on the outs in terms of the NFL head coaching system, and this new, we want the guy who's going to want to punch everybody in the face? Is that the new trend that teams are looking for head coaches?
Well, I hope not. I don't think Sean McVay's that guy. I don't think Shanahan's that guy. I don't think DeMeco Ryans is that guy. He gets fired up on the sideline. It's simple decorum. It's being an adult. And maybe, yeah, some of that is, but I've never seen Dan Campbell do any of that. To me, it's always the focus should be your team, being fired about your team, not calling out another franchise. Because when he did that in the locker room, I guarantee you there are 31, well, I can't guarantee it. There's a high percentage of NFL coaches, I would guess, that would look at that and be like, what are you doing? Dick Vitale weighed in on it. It's bad sportsmanship. It's a huge win for the Bears. I get it. but I thought that was childish.
Give me a thought on the Bears since they took your team out. I mean, is this sustainable? What they've been doing? Can they continue to do this throughout this run in the postseason?
Right, and now all of that Ben Johnson stuff takes away from my real takeaway is that Caleb Williams is clutch.
That's the takeaway. That's the takeaway.
He made a 4th and 5 throw that was unbelievable. He's an excellent quarterback, and they'll get more help around him as they go. And the defense lives off turnovers a little bit, but they turned up the pressure on Jordan Love. And my takeaway, Jason, would be, would you take Caleb Williams over Jordan Love in a playoff game? And after Saturday, you would have to say yes.
I was just talking about it with Sam yesterday. I texted him yesterday. I said, he's had more of those moments in his first 2 years than Trevor Lawrence has had his entire career.
Yeah, he can play. And obviously Jacksonville losing over the weekend. And, again, it's this Bears team is very good. I think they could beat the Rams. I don't think they will beat the Rams. But having Los Angeles come into their Chicago, I haven't checked the weather report. I'm assuming it's not going to be great.
It's a remarkable thing, what they are doing, and it's going to continue to be fun to watch as we go through this postseason, and obviously next weekend. Bill Bender's going to hang out for one more segment. I have an argument to make, by the way, that I'm going to make on the other side of this about why kids should stay in school and play in these bowl games. I will do that as well. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to do. Bill Bender hanging out with us on SportsWrap. Welcome back, lover of handshakes. Bill Bender hangs out with us. The Sporting News does a great job on football. Picked his brain on the NFL. Now we'll get his thoughts on college. I watch guys like Caleb Williams and Bryce Young and all these guys that come out of college and have played in these bowl games, don't opt out of playing in these bowl games. We like to all sit here and kind of mock bowl season and all of this. The more big games you can play in, the better prepared you are at the next level. And I remember people, talking about Caleb Williams crying after games and Caleb Williams doesn't love football and all these different narratives that were out there about Caleb Williams when he was coming into the NFL. All I could think to myself is, man, thank God these guys got the experience they did at the collegiate level, Bill.
Well, and think about the 4 quarterbacks at the college level that played last weekend. Even though Dante Moore struggled, that's good for him. You make up a great point. Trinidad Chambliss has improved his stock maybe more than he can even do next season. And Carson Beck, for all that we make fun of him about age, I mean, what a drive to end the game. And, of course, Fernando Mendoza has been flawless. I mean, I think he's starting to be the runaway number 1 pick for the Las Vegas Raiders with the way he's playing the intangibles
Poor
and everything
guy.
else. I think you're exactly right. Well, that too.
Yeah, I say poor guy. All right, talk to me about, let's start with Miami, because we didn't get to talk to you about it. Miami beating Ole Miss and finding themselves in this position now in the national championship game on their home field, obviously as big underdogs. Talk about it first from the perspective of Ole Miss missing out on this opportunity, and then give me some thoughts here on Miami.
Yeah, I had the final score prediction of 27-24, and I had to text a friend and say, man, I got
Wasn't me.
Right on.
Wasn't me you texted.
It was, I was like, hey, I nailed it. And it was my college roommate because he always likes to tell me how wrong I am. And then, of course, Miami goes down the field and scores. And I was like, I had to say something, didn't I? And but what a drive by Carson Beck, Malachi Toney making plays, this Miami roster. And I teased that to you guys earlier today that digging into their roster and Indiana's roster, it's not all that different. Both teams are super experienced. Both teams have a lot of portal guys. And, on Miami's end, they obviously have more guys from Florida. And that's what makes it so intriguing to me is those guys take a ton of pride in being from Florida, and they'll be home for the championship game on Monday.
Bill, just from a scheduling perspective, because I know we're sitting here doing this on a Monday. There's a week until they play the national championship game. We're 4 days removed from the semifinals at this point. It feels like the schedule with all of this has to change somehow. College football is doing it to themselves. They're not, I'm sorry, as as much as none of us wish this were true, college football is not going to be relevant next Monday. It's simply not. We're going to be talking about championship matchups in the NFL. We're going to be previewing the Super Bowl essentially at that point. College football is losing relevance to their own demise. I don't remember this, but someone who's been around the game of college football, as long as both of you, as a matter of fact, remember when the college football season ended New Year's Day before the NFL postseason even started. Bill, is there any hope that we get back to a somewhat normal schedule where college football isn't constantly competing with the NFL playoffs, which is a battle they're never going to win?
I hope so. As my editor likes to point out all the time, there are 9 playoff games played in between the last semifinal and the championship game. So you lose that window. It is an afterthought on Monday morning. I say that every year, and that's something that another reason why we need to push the playoff up. I saw Heather Dinich's report earlier. I think it was yesterday, that unless the Big Ten and the SEC can come up to an agreement, one wants 16, the Big Ten wants 24. What are we doing? Let's fix this and start this thing sooner, because these are the kind of things that prevent what you're talking about, Sam, from happening.
Are we going to be able to get you on next Monday? Just a little housekeeping here for our audience who doesn't care.
Right. It'll be from a hotel in Miami,
okay.
But yeah,
just making sure.
I mean, I'll be there, right. And I have you guys scheduled.
All right, I'm just making sure, because otherwise I had to ask you to like make a prediction now, and instead I'll have you make a prediction then. From the Indiana perspective and what they did to Oregon and just dismantling the Ducks, I know you say this is good for Dante Moore in the long run, but I mean, for the Ducks as a program to go through that kind of shellacking, where does it sort of leave them? We already know about Indiana, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about them next Monday. Give it to me from the Oregon perspective.
2 years in a row, a blowout loss. I mean, yeah, they had some running back injuries, but that was a little eye-opening. I mean, that game, you could have made the argument was over the second D'Angelo Pons intercepted the first pass of the game. Now, I know they responded and scored, but they had no answer for Indiana. And for Dan Lanning, I think it's just taking those steps. He's a great quarterback developer. I don't know if Dante Moore will go to the NFL draft or not. I know Dylan Raiola's decision seems to hinge on that in the portal. They've got a ton of talent. They've been very impressive in the Big Ten in the last 2 years. But at some point, Lanning will be on the clock as the coach that needs to win a national championship, kind of like Ryan Day was a couple years ago.
So that was my question, Bill. How much longer is Dan Lanning's leash? I get it. Every season, right? They've taken one step, right? Every year they get one level further, but then they always suffer a blowout loss. How long is Oregon going to stand for that?
Well, I think he's going to have a challenge next year in losing both coordinators. He's fine long term. I mean, when you're producing guys that become head coaches like Dillingham and Tosh and Stein, he's had a good tree. I think he's a really good coach. But, you know, when you're in the Big, I would say they're one of the 3 present tense elite programs in the Big Ten. But the losses are to Ohio State. And Indiana right now is a present tense elite program. Can't say that. Maybe 5 years ago we can't say it, but as long as Signetti's there, they're going to be pretty damn good.
Bill Bender does a great job with the Sporting News. Check out his work. He's got a great comparison on the experience between Indiana and Miami that he's put together over there at the Sporting News. I'm giving you a virtual handshake here at midfield.
Oh, my gosh.
We will see.
You're not going to let this go now.
We'll see you next Monday. All right. Just about time to wrap things up on this Monday edition of the show. Before we go, a couple of quick reminders. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the SportsWrap with Jason Page podcast, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. It is this show in its beautiful audio form, Monday through Friday. 45 minutes, crystal clear. It works just as well as an audio companion as it does a television show. So make sure to check that out. Subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Also, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. This is the place for all things Sports Wrap with Jason Page, including the actual show, the TV version of the show, available Monday through Friday, commercial-free, 45 minutes right there for you on our YouTube channel. It's available early in the afternoons. Trust me, you will want to check that out. One other reminder. Tomorrow, from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern, if you are watching MSNBC, well, formerly MSNBC, now called MS Now, I will be a panelist as they cover this Supreme Court hearing on these Supreme Court arguments that are being done tomorrow on transgender athletes in women's sports. I will be one of the panelists that they go to during that coverage from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern tomorrow. So if you happen to see me on TV there, don't be surprised. All right, SportsWrap Shorts, also available on our YouTube channel. Make sure to mention that. We cover the top stories of the day, top games every night as well. Check that out. Available on our TikTok as well, SportsWrap Jason Page, and on our Instagram, you guessed it, SportsWrap Jason Page. And without any further delay, ladies and gentlemen, time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, Sam Yarnell. Woo, the end of Wemby last night. How about Ant-Man doing a number on the Alien last night, Sam Yarnell, as the T-Wolves pick up a key win at home against the Spurs. And we were just talking about it off air, how stacked the West is right now. The Suns are 24-15. They're the 6th seed in the West. But how about Ant-Man doing some moves? And then after the game, the post game, if you get a chance, I couldn't put it in today because it's got swearing in it and I didn't feel like doing a ton of editing. But him talking about when he was faced with the prospect of going up against Wemby to try and win the game, great stuff from Ant-Man last night.
Yeah, it was. It looked like vintage Anthony Edwards. It looked like Georgia Anthony Edwards last night. Now, but really athletic movements out of him. And I mean, lost kind of in the shuffle of the shot with 16 seconds left. He hit an incredible jumper over Stephon Castle with like 2 minutes left that kept his team in this game. So, you know, as competitive as the West is, Jason, you're right. Anthony Edwards has done a great job keeping this Minnesota team with all the weirdly enough, with all the trials and tribulations that franchise has had to go through both on and off the floor over the last couple of years. Ant has done a great job of kind of just keeping the status quo.
I think that's a very apt way of saying it. The Monday night wild card game, Sam Yarnell. The Texans -3 on the road against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers plus 134 on the money line, by the way, if you feel so inclined. 38.5 is the total. I said this last Friday on the show when we kind of picked this game, that the thing I like most here is the under. As I pointed out to Bill Bender when we were discussing, I don't know if we just talked about that on the air or off the air. I like the Steelers with my heart because I want to see Aaron Rodgers go on a run in what could be his final season. My head tells me it's the Texans because all year long, Sam, I've been saying Houston was the team that nobody wanted to play come the postseason. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you, Jason. I would like to see the Steelers win for, you know, a multitude of reasons. Personal reasons. I think the Bills get through the Steelers a lot easier than they get through the Texans. Historical reasons, right? Objectively, however you feel about Aaron Rodgers, right? I don't personally love the guy off the field, but his career is objectively historic and objectively one of the ones that will be remembered in NFL history. So, yeah, I want to see him continue to play in these NFL playoffs. And, you know, quite frankly, and this may be controversial, no, it shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be. As good as the Texans' defense is, the Steelers have the best defensive player in this game, and I want to see TJ Watt play through the playoffs even more. So, yeah, again, heart completely with the Steelers, head completely with the Texans. They should pick off Aaron Rodgers a few times in this game. The Steelers' rushing offense, I know Kenny Gainwell's been good lately, but, like, are we really going to rely on that? I don't know. It's a toss-up to me. I don't mind the under, but I could also see this game like being stupid and sneaking over by 24-20. Ugh. Oh, that was dumb. 17-24. That gets us over the total. Like, that's also dumb. Yeah, I'm not expecting a lot from this game. It should be reminiscent of Chargers, Patriots. I just don't know if I could take a road favorite in these playoffs. Have we seen a road favorite win? Yeah, the Rams are the only ones.
I wonder what the over-under on like third down conversions is going to be tonight. You're gonna get a lot. Good luck with that tonight. What would we set the number at if we were doing third down conversions tonight?
Like 7.5.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it feels like 7.5 is a good number. For a team. I think 4 aside is good.
I'm telling you, they could set the total at 30.5 in this game, and I still think it winds up under. I really do. It's going to do it for us. Thanks to Bill Bender. Thanks to you, Sam Yarnell. Thanks to all of you at home for watching. Damon Bruce from Damon Bruce Plus on the show tomorrow to break down the Niners win, their chances against the Seahawks, and the national championship game. That does it for us. We'll see you tomorrow.